Listen, if you've ever beaten yourself up for being forgetful or kind of worried that your memory is somehow slipping, you're absolutely going to want to pay close attention to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the brutal yet incredibly empowering truth about how your mind actually works. We're going to explore why the things you drop and forget are just as important as the things you keep, and how your brain is actively choosing to delete certain details just to run a much more sophisticated program in the background.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're on a mission. You march confidently from the living room straight into the kitchen, you cross the threshold of the doorway, and suddenly, nothing. You just stop dead in your tracks. You're standing there staring into the abyss of the refrigerator, basically hoping a jar of pickles is somehow going to remind you of your life's purpose. And most people experience this frustrating glitch and instantly jump to the worst conclusion. They think, wow, my memory is completely shot today, or I must be losing my edge. But what if I told you that this specific experience isn't a glitch at all?
Well, here is the fascinating psychological twist. You are not forgetful. You're actually gifted. Modern psychology suggests that this supposed bad memory for everyday things is absolutely not a sign of cognitive decline or weakness. Instead, it's literal proof that your brain is running highly sophisticated software. It's a completely different way of looking at human cognition. Your brain isn't failing to capture information, it's actively, ruthlessly curating it.
See, there's this persistent myth out there that a truly superior, highly intelligent mind works like some sort of infinite filing cabinet. We tend to think a genius is just someone who hoards every single mental receipt, right? Raw facts, middle names, arbitrary dates, exactly what they had for breakfast 3 weeks ago. But the reality, it looks much more like an advanced filter. A highly intelligent brain is optimized to look right past those raw facts. Instead, it prioritizes storing complex behavioral patterns, deep interpersonal connections, and honestly, the overall atmosphere or vibe of an environment.
And this brings us to a really vital cognitive process called mental editing. An intellectually optimized brain just flat out refuses to waste its valuable cognitive space on mundane details. If you forget what day of the week it is, or you can't recall a minor detail from a casual conversation, your brain is quite literally doing mental editing. It's intentionally discarding that trivial data to free up processing power and cognitive space for things that actually matter to your survival and your understanding of the world. It is exactly like closing down all the unnecessary tabs on your web browser so your most important, heavy-duty apps can run without crashing the whole system.
So when your brain clears out that trivial data, it replaces it using an incredible mechanism known as associative retrieval. This is a memory system that really doesn't care about the raw, surface-level data of a situation. Instead, it prioritizes the connections. It looks at the behavioral patterns of the people around you, sensing the underlying atmosphere of a room rather than, say, memorizing the paint color on the walls. Highly intelligent minds prioritize storing these deep relational metrics. They aren't just absorbing what's happening on the surface, they are constantly, quietly mapping out how everything connects in the background. Think about how this pattern hunting radar actually operates in real life, because this is where it gets highly applicable to your daily routine. Have you ever been introduced to someone at an event and literally 5 seconds later their name is just completely gone? But even though you totally forgot their name, you instantly registered a passive-aggressive shift in their tone of voice, or maybe you spotted a tiny contradiction in their behavior that literally no one else in the room picked up on. You can effortlessly analyze the entire emotional frequency of that room, even if you can't recall a single factual detail. That right there, that is your pattern hunting radar overriding the filing cabinet.
Ultimately, your brain is making a highly calculated trade-off. It actively prioritizes analytical depth over raw facts. And why? Because in the long run, understanding the why behind a situation, understanding someone's true motives, or grasping the complex dynamics of a group, that offers a way higher survival value than memorizing a birth date or a middle name. A date isn't going to keep you safe. Understanding human behavior will. Your brain is essentially playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Now, let's dig into the psychological root of this because it often comes from a very specific place. Psychology shows us that many people who grew up in unpredictable environments develop something called hypervigilance. This is an enhanced state of sensory sensitivity. It's an intense survival mechanism that literally wires the brain to instantly scan any environment for emotional danger or instability. If you grew up needing to constantly read the mood of the room just to stay safe or to navigate really complex dynamics, well, your brain adapted. It became ruthlessly efficient at this one specific high-level task.
And look at how this operates step by step in real time. First, the brain enters a room and instantly scans the environment for any signs of shifting emotional dynamics. Next, in order to process that massive amount of complex emotional data, it immediately discards mundane details, like why you walked into the room in the first place, treating them as mere noise. Finally, it focuses its entire processing power on predicting outcomes and deep pattern recognition. It's a highly sophisticated triage system, and it's happening in fractions of a second.
Because of this amazing triage system, I think it's officially time to retire the term absent-minded, right? Absent-minded implies that you're just losing your memory and carelessly missing details. Actually, scratch that, that is not what's happening at all. You aren't just losing details, you are detaching. You're actively filtering out low-value thoughts that offer absolutely no real survival benefit, just so you can keep your processing power focused entirely on the big picture. When you forget where you put your keys, it's very often because your mental energy was fully consumed by solving a much more complex, high-level problem in your head.
I really want to use this insight to validate your cognitive style today. If you've ever been told you overthink things, or that you're somehow missing the obvious while you're busy focusing on invisible dynamics, please remember this. You are not too much, you just think deeper than most. That perceived flaw of forgetfulness is quite often the direct, undeniable side effect of possessing deep analytical depth. Your mind is optimized for a rare, complex type of intelligence.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really chew on as you go about your week. Look back at your day so far, or even look at the days ahead, and ask yourself, how many trivial things did you forget today while your brain was busy solving a much bigger problem? The next time you walk into a room and forget why you're there, don't get frustrated. Take a breath, look around, and ask yourself what complex patterns your mind was busy decoding instead. You might just be surprised by how brilliant your forgetfulness really is.